Good morning, Prus. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 8th chapter, verse number 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Prayesha Vadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamas Loke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Okay, the verses continue, not in prose. Kriyayam nirvartyamanayam antaralepi utayottaya yadainam abhichakshita tarhi vava savarshapati prakritistena manasa tasma ashisha ashaste swasti stad vasate sarvata iti. Thank you again to Taraka Prabhu for posting the verse. Today is Dwadasi, and the fast needs to be broken between 5:42 and 10:43. Synonyms: Kriyayam, the activities of worshipping the Lord or performing ritualistic ceremonies. Nirvartyamanayam, even without finishing. Antarale, at intervals in the middle. Api, although. Utaya, repeatedly getting up. Yada, when. Enam, the deer calf. Vichakshita, would see. Tarhi vava, at that time. Sa, he. Varshapati, Maharaj Bharata. Prakriti stena, happy. Manasa, within his mind. Tasmai, and to it. Ashisha, ashaste, bestows benedictions. Swasti, all auspiciousness. Stat, let there be. Vatsa, O my dear calf. Te, unto you. Sarvata, in all respects. Iti, thus. translation and purport from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When Maharaj Bharata was actually worshipping the Lord or was engaged in some ritualistic ceremony, although his activities were unfinished, he would still, at intervals, get up and see where the deer was. In this way, he would look for it, and when he could see that the deer was comfortably situated, his mind and heart would be very satisfied. And he would bestow his blessings upon the deer, saying, "My dear calf, may you be happy in all respects." Purport. Because his attraction for the deer was so intense, Bharata Maharaj could not concentrate upon worshipping the Lord or performing his ritualistic ceremonies. Even though he was engaged in worshipping the deity, his mind was restless due to his inordinate affection. While trying to meditate, he would simply think of a deer, wondering where it had gone. In other words, if one's mind is distracted from worship, a mere show of worship will not be of any benefit. The fact that Bharata Maharaj had to get up at intervals to look for the deer was simply a sign that he had fallen down from a spiritual platform. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The verse again. Well, we're going to read it gradually and talk about it, I think. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. This is the description of an unfortunate incident and a very useful lesson. As Maharaj Bharata, who was no ordinary being, not even an ordinary king, he was so prominent and so much the benefactor of all beings that the planet received his name, Bharatavarsha. Now, he had given up family, kingdom, politics, power, everything, not by force. Out of his own accord, he thought, okay, I've done my job, I ruled the earth, I was kind to my fellow men and women, I made sure that the citizens, including the defenseless animals, there are some animals that they are not defenseless, but the defenseless animals or even trees were protected. This is the nature of a kshatriya. He wants to protect. He wants to protect others, sometimes among protest, because some people are stubborn and they think, no, I can do it myself. Just like a child, when you present an idea, the child or people that are like children, they, unless it's their own idea, they don't want to hear about it. So Maharaj Bharata was the protector of the earth, and no matter how attached he may have been to family, friends, power, influence, he gave it up. And now he's stuck with a deer. And his affection that was immediately given to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was making great advancement, while he was in seclusion, was all of a sudden distracted and deviated towards a young deer. And there's nothing wrong to be affectionate to others. There's nothing wrong to be affectionate to animals. But if this is done in lieu of the affection that one needs to develop for Krishna, then this is an impediment to devotional service and has to be given up. So Maharaj Bharat didn't give up his, in the beginning of his interactions with the deer, didn't give up his rituals, his worship, the ablutions and the whatever he did. But eventually they faded away, and his mentality was the first thing to change as he was meditating on the deer. He was not meditating on the Supreme Lord. Just like some pujari even. The pujari may be meditating on their own, as they are doing arti to the Lord, inches away from the forms of the Lord. They may be meditating in their own mental concoctions or problems or domestic quarrels or whatever, or food or whatever they are meditating on. So this became Bharata Maharaj's constant meditation. Where's the deer? And we say, well, there's a remote possibility, as when we go see the Lord, we are meditating on the Lord, but that's not true either. As we see, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else, sometimes we go to greet the deities, and within a few moments, if it is during the Govindam prayers, that's pretty much everybody's focusing on the deities. But sometimes, actually often, you see that devotees or visitors go see the deities and they pull the phone out and then they take care of the text. Just right in front of the deities, they're completely distracted by social media, by interaction with others. The Lord is right there. You want to see the Lord, and your phone became your Lord. Just like for Bharata Maharaj, since they didn't have any cell phones, he had a deer that was keeping him busy enough. So when he was actually doing the rituals, he couldn't concentrate, thinking, is the deer doing okay? Is it comfortable? Are there animals? Like even when he went to the forest to collect herbs and roots and flowers and so on, it would take the deer with him because he couldn't bear be separated, because he was afraid that jackals and tigers may attack the deer. So the deer was very happy nudging him and walking along. Now again, there's a lesson to be learned. It's not like, okay, if you see a deer, avoid him because he will take you away from meditating on God. We see plenty of deer here. It's because he exchanged. His life became material. Like one cannot help other bodies. The bodies are destined to perish. The bodies are actually dead already. If it wasn't for the soul inhabiting the bodies, there will be nothing, just some decaying matter. Just like one doesn't feel affection for a pile of dead leaves that is created during the fall season when the leaves fall from the trees. Why would anybody become attached to a pile of dead leaves? So we are actually having this very bizarre interaction with matter, as if we were matter of matter too. But we are not. So attachment for the body, whether it's ours or someone else's, is actually detrimental. We are not helping ourselves. We are not helping anybody else, because the bodies cannot be saved. So Prabhupada says, if you read some of the purpose in this chapter, that we need to help people's souls. We need to, and the only help is with this. Prabhupada mentions the word altruism and philanthropy, which means to help those who need help. And these activities, they have to be selective, because one can open a hospital and okay, someone has a serious illness and is cured in the hospital, and then they're healthy to go on with their material life. What kind of help was that? So we have to help. Of course, materially we should, if we can, we should help others, but mostly we have to concentrate on helping others spiritually. And this is a very useful tool for our own spiritual life. We need to help others, but we need to help them reach Krishna. That is the main help. So let's read the verse here. When Maharaj Bharat was actually worshipping the Lord or was engaged in some ritualistic ceremony, although his activities were unfinished, he would still, at intervals, get up and see where the deer was. In this way, he would look for it, and when he could see that the deer was comfortably situated, his mind and heart would be very satisfied, and he would bestow his blessings upon the deer, saying, "My dear calf, may you be happy in all respects." Prabhupada doesn't give much credence or emphasis to keeping pets. He says throughout the purpose in these chapters, just an animal. Pets, people become attached to cats and dogs, and therefore they take birth as cats and dogs. So it's not, apparently, according to the culture that Prabhupada grew up with, pets are not considered a good thing. They destruct. Even though we saw Lord Chaitanya being very kind to the animals, not only in Jarikanda, where he made them all dance, the deer and the tigers were dancing together, and Shivananda Sena's dog got the blessings. Lord Chaitanya fed him with his own lotus hand, coconut pulp, and the dog went back to Godhead right away. So in our tradition there is maybe, and kings, I'm sure they had some favorite horses and etc. So this is the interaction between humans and animals was a very healthy one. It can become unhealthy when someone is completely obsessed with their pets, and I don't think I have to dig very deep to mention that people have dogs and cats and hamsters and gerbils and snakes and tarantulas. They keep them as pets. Even tigers and lions, pumas, all this crazy thing, and they just go on vacation with them. They pay exorbitant fees to carry them on a plane and to vaccinate them and to operate them if they have anything, and it's like a member of a family. It's actually sometimes the most important member of a family. A pet, an animal. It can reciprocate, and as far as some basic feelings, but has the intelligence of a toddler. So this and people post pictures of them and buy clothes specially designed for animals and beds and drinking vessels and food. Some we have a customer at the dairy that buys, is it milk, yogurt, cheese? What does he buy? I think he buys all these products for his pet. Okay, Hare Krishna. What can I say? So this is what Prabhupada is criticizing, that one should not deviate from worshiping the Lord just to put one's attention in some animal that has the intelligence of a toddler and is truly unable to reciprocate except for certain things. And now we see service animals, that people cannot go anywhere without the service animals. Because some get depressed, or some have diabetes, or for whatever reasons, the animals are helping them. Well, good for them, but don't do it at the exchange of one's spiritual life. And instead of meditating in God, one meditates on the pet. So this is the crux of a problem of this particular story, where Bharata Maharaj just got lost. And the purport Prabhupada says, because his attraction for the deer was so intense, Bharata Maharaj could not concentrate upon worshipping the Lord or perform his ritualistic ceremonies. Even though he was engaged in worshipping the deity, his mind was restless due to his inordinate affection. Inordinate, undue. While trying to meditate, he would simply think of a deer, wondering where it had gone. In other words, if one's mind is distracted from worship, a mere show of worship will not be of any benefit. So we need to control our minds in order to derive benefit from worshiping Krishna. Just the show, just putting on tilak and waving something in front of the deities, if one's mind is elsewhere, will not give any benefit. It's just a show. It's done for others, and one may be buying the same farce that is trying to sell others. The fact that Bharata Maharaj had to get up at intervals to look for the deer was simply a sign that he had fallen down from a spiritual platform. We have so many cases of fall downs and distractions and so on. The Bhagavatam is very long, but not too long. In other words, there is description of Krishna's activities and devotees' activities, but they have all of the contents of the Bhagavatam. They have a purpose. They have a purpose of educating us, and this may happen to you. Variety of education. This may happen to you. So how to avoid it? How to see it coming? That's why one of the things that are important in the relationship between Vaishnavas is Guhyam Akyati Prichati, the exchange of confidences. Because by revealing one's mind in confidence to someone who is not going to betray us or mock us or take advantage of us, one is actually placing one's faith, instead of in the distractions and sense gratification in the hands and mind and capable intelligence of another Vaishnava or Vaishnavi. So we should be asking for help regularly from others that can help with our distractions, because we all have a favorite list, 108 distractions that are actually hampering our spiritual development. So in order to, it's not just this show of false modesty, I'm so fallen, and I'm a dog, and I'm less than a dog, I'm a flea on a dog, I'm the stool of a flea on a dog, etc., etc. All these regressive stages of degradation that, I'm worse than all of them. That also may be part of a show, may be part of a distraction. So if I say that, I don't have to think about how am I slipping, how am I falling from my position. Our position is fragile, I would say, because we are in the material world and we are part of the marginal energy. We do have a tendency to slip. We have a tendency to fall down. Prabhupada said, your problem, and he was talking about his American, European, etc., boys and girls, is that you're not afraid enough of Maya. It's not that Maya shows up and you always see when Maya comes. Maya is very sneaky and slippery. It comes in any time. It's actually living with us. It's living within our minds. And we have no clue. So we can always make a wrong decision based on Maya's influence. And if we keep ourselves in a defensive attitude, that we are always careful because this is the kingdom of Maya, then we may have a chance. And in order to do that, we need good advice, strong association, good sadhana, and just like when you eat. I mean, I haven't eaten yet, as I only broke the Ekadasi with a piece of grain. When you eat, you have to discriminate. We need to discriminate. Is this been offered? Is it even offerable? So we have to train our minds to only eat prasadam, only eat food that is offerable and offered. Since my brahmachari days, it's not that I've done everything right, or I have done very little right probably, but with the prasadam, I train my mind to see food as if it was a centerpiece of waxed fruit on a table. Unless it is offered, unless it's being cooked with good consciousness and offered to Krishna, I don't see it as food. I don't see it as edible. It's like wax fruit. It's not edible. It may look real, but it's not edible. So I wish I could have done that in every respect in my life, train my mind to see things for the benefit of the soul and not for the benefit of the body. But anyway, one can only do one can do. Thinking of other people, because some of us are reformers. We want to improve, correct, modify the world to make it a better place, etc., etc. But we don't count many times with the cooperation of others that don't see eye to eye, even though we, of course, see perfectly well and think we have a solution to everything and every problem and every person. So I heard the sentence, "Oh, that person is doing their best." I never believed that. I thought this is all a lame excuse to get away with murder, to get away with doing nonsense. Oh, that person is doing that. She's doing her best. Oh, he's doing his best. I never believed that. I thought, oh, this is nonsense. But one day, from an unexpected source, as I was in my radio days, I used to have a radio program for 16 years. I was talking to a famous radio personality, and that person, he was a friend of mine and a brilliant person, brilliant. And he was criticizing another famous radio personality. And I just jumped in a bandwagon. Oh, okay, I can offer some criticism as part of my solidarity towards my friend. But he stopped me. He didn't want to hear it. He said, even though I do criticize him, he's doing his best. That's what he told me when I was trying to help him by criticizing the other person. And it was a shock. It was the first time that I actually heard and considered that sentence, not as something, not as a possibility or a potential, but actually a fact. That if a person could do better, they would, but they can't, even though it seems simple from the outside. So yes, Maharaj Bharata could have just let the deer go and continue with the spiritual life, but he couldn't. He couldn't. He was forced by circumstances, by his mind, by the betrayal of his intelligence, by Krishna's plan, many factors. So in our case, we always have to make good decisions because we are good at making bad decisions. So we have to train ourselves to make good decisions that they may require sacrifice. And as Prabhupada said in previous verses, and we should know this, charity, austerity, sacrifice, this cannot be given up. These are things that are beneficial even for those who are self-realized and liberated. So it may take a bit of austerity, a bit of sacrifice, a bit of dedication, but our spiritual life is paramount. It's literally all we have, is the thread that we are hanging from. This is our spiritual life. Everything else can come and go. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. So this is our lifeline, our spiritual life, and we cannot let this happen to us like Bharata Maharaj, to get distracted. Distraction turns into habit, it turns into addiction, and once it becomes an addiction, the intelligence has no room. The mind grew too big, and the intelligence have no room to convince the person of the right thing to do. Okay, the soliloquy ends here. If you, Prabhus, have anything to contribute, please feel free. This is the time to do it. Thank you. I apologize if I inadvertently offended anyone with my talk. I did the best I could, literally.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you for a nice class. Lots to think about there. Lots of practical application for us. I always enjoy hearing your classes, even independently of the content, which is always nice. You're talking about a radio show. I can imagine you hosting a radio show. You have a very ideal voice for a radio show. Your voice is very pleasing to hear. Anyway, was thinking about Bharata Maharaj and the fact that as qualified as he was, extraordinarily qualified, son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he still was victimized by mundane affection for a deer and sidetracked from his spiritual practices. And if so qualified an individual could be so easily diverted, then certainly we can be diverted easily. And practically, I'm seeing there is a devotee that my wife is trying to help, who is elderly and in very frail health. Obviously, this individual's days are quickly running out. And she has an opportunity to see her spiritual master, who is also in frail health. And there's a good chance that this may be her last opportunity to see him in this life. But she is reluctant to go to see him because she is concerned that in the 2 days she will be gone from home, her cat will be in anxiety. And the cat will have to be satisfied with dry cat food that has been sitting out for 2 days. And this thought is unbearable to this devotee. And so my wife is having to convince her of the importance of seeing her spiritual master, because she is thinking, I can't go to see my spiritual master. What about my poor cat? I've got to take care of my cat. And this now is an individual who has been practicing Krishna consciousness since the mid to late 70s. So I'm just, I'm seeing graphically how it can happen to anyone. And it's frightening to think, but we have to be very vigilant. It happens insidiously in little ways. It starts out innocently in little simple ways, and then gradually it builds and builds until we are so deeply sunk in illusion and attachment that we can't imagine even trying to extricate ourselves. It's just unimaginable. So it's terrifying, really, when you think about it. But we're on this precipice. We can fall into a dreadful abyss at any time if we're not very vigilant. You pointed out how Srila Prabhupada would criticize his disciples, saying that you are not sufficiently afraid of Maya. And of course, it's true. We're intoxicated by our circumstances in material life. We're intoxicated by sense gratification, by our mind, our senses, and our circumstances, and sometimes oblivious to the precariousness of our situation, and fail to understand how easily we can be diverted. Probably everyone here has seen instances of devotees sidetracked in their devotional service. So, and you pointed out the importance of the association of other devotees, depending upon others, is a tremendous help in our Krishna consciousness. We could progress nicely in our Krishna consciousness alone, simply chanting Hare Krishna, reading the books, associating with our spiritual master. But what an advantage it is to have the benefit of the association of devotees, because the human species is we are by nature social animals, and we have a quality that is kind of like a chameleon. We tend to take on the attributes of our environment, and in the association of other devotees, their devotional sentiments will bolster our own devotional sentiments. Tremendous strength is derived from that association, at least if it's executed properly and in Krishna consciousness. Anyway, I always appreciate your classes. One concern, though, the past two times you have given class, I noticed that I had to crank my volume to the absolute max to try to hear you. And I'm wondering if something has changed with your microphone or something. I'm having a hard time hearing.
I'm not sure, Prabhu. I don't think I've changed the settings. I think there is a setting that is called original sound for musicians on Zoom, and I was told that unless I turn that on, when I play and sing, it's all choppy and you can't hear anything. So maybe after I play, I should change it back. As a matter of fact, I can do it right now and see. Can you hear better this way?
Yes, actually, yeah, I do hear you better. It's much more clear.
That's what I should do, because there's a noise filter, et cetera, that actually cuts off the keyboard and the singing. So okay, I'll thank you for pointing that out. I should remember. I was gonna say that I did have pets growing up. I had dogs and then parakeets and cats, and mostly stuck to cats. And when I was in my early teens, I had a mother and son cats, and we spoil them. We totally spoil them. The son, whom I call Charles Atlas, you may know the reference from the old magazines, where there was a guy, a skinny guy lying on the beach, and a big buff guy came and just kicked sand into his face. And it was an advertisement for weightlifting and physical culture, that you can become like this guy Charles Atlas, that nobody messes with him, nobody will kick sand into your face. So I called I call my cat sarcastically Charles Atlas, because he was just a fat slob. Matter of fact, I used to grab him by the legs and drop them on top of a couch. And even though the cats have incredible reflexes and instinct, and all cats will turn around, even if you drop them from a short distance, this cat didn't. He just fell on his back, completely lost his instincts. And he died tragically. He was attacked by dogs and broken into pieces. And it broke my heart to such a point that I made a vow never to become attached to another animal. And that was it for me. And also, I don't know, it's a question of karma, I guess, but you can cultivate it too. My material family, they weren't the nicest people, let's say. So that also gave me a serious dose of detachment, which is actually very difficult, as is written in the scriptures about one's attachment. Of course, if one's family are devotees, that's another thing. But we do have to seek the cultivation of attachment to Krishna and the devotees, and detachment from that which is pernicious or unhelpful to the development of our spiritual life. Thank you about the comment about the radio and the voice and so on. Yes, I did it. People told me that I had a good radio voice, so I decided, why not? I'm going to use it. And I got a radio program. Actually, I got two, and I was playing music from around the world, other people's music. And then at the end of a program, I would read from Prabhupada's books straight on the air. And I called the program Point Blank, as I thought of the image of bringing someone so close that I couldn't miss the shot. That was the idea of the name behind it. And I did get very good response. So I did that, and I had a second program for some time where I will do interviews, and I interviewed devotees. I interview other people too, but I will ask them questions where I could actually introduce some form of Krishna consciousness. And it was nice. I liked doing it. I got all my desire to listen to beautiful music basically out of my system. I ended up with a collection of CDs that I still have, maybe 4,000 or 5,000, which I've been calling Penn State Music Library to donate it to them, but they're apparently not interested. They don't call me back. So I will find another venue to make an exit. And yes, as you said, we have to learn our lessons and be in the association of devotees. And the association doesn't mean that you live with devotees. That's not good enough. One can live among devotees, but present one's image of what people would like to see about us, but not our real self. And we are all struggling one way or another with the modes. So we need help. So in order to do that, we have to reciprocate nicely with devotees. And the exchanges among devotees is prasadam, confidences, and gifts. So one should be aware of this etiquette that should take place, not just, okay, I go to this devotee, I tell him my problems or tell her my problems, and that's it. And I perfunctorily listen to what they have to say, but my main interest is to just unburden myself, unload on others. Or that, yes, because gifts are suggested, then I can give them something that doesn't mean anything to me. No, it should be something significant. and also prasadam. It's important that one actually offers prasadam to others. This will actually alleviate the heart from this greed that we have, from this desires, lust to consume and to take the best for ourselves and not share it with others. All right. I hope we had enough, and we'll get some more tomorrow. Let's see, there's some messages. Lila Kishori said yes. I don't know what Lila Kishori, what are you referring to with yes? We spoke about a lot of things.
You're hearing my grandson in the background also, but that was because I could finally hear you. And I thought it was just my audio. So I hadn't brought it up. So when you turned off the filter, I was like, yes, it's like I can hear you well. But I did have one question for you, Savatma Prabhu. I struggle sometimes when people say like I'm doing the best I can. And even for myself, having grace with myself about, I'm doing the best I can and not feeling that actually, one second, bro. No, you have to wait a minute. That I'm not picking an easier, softer way. And that it's not just an excuse for not doing a good job, not doing, like really doing the best. So I'm interested in how you came to that realization when you said and it occurred to me for the first time, no, this is really, they would do better if they could. If you could just talk a little bit about that.
We should take that as a rule for others, but not for ourselves. We should never think, I'm doing my best. But for others, yes, we should be saying, yeah, if this person could do better, they probably would. And if they can't see that, I can try to help, but ultimately it's up to them. You can't, Prabhupada said you can wake up a person who is asleep, but it's very difficult to wake up a person who is pretending to be asleep because it depends on them. So yes, we should think that person is doing their best. So what can we do? But as far as ourselves, I don't think we should throw that excuse. We can always do better. And if we don't think that way, others do about us. Yeah, that person could do better. So we should try. We shouldn't be tortured or lose sleep over it, but it's a good indicator that someone is willing to change and make advancement. I hope that is what you were looking for. That's all the answer that I have.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, let's go see Radha Damodar, or let's see Radha Damodar from a distance. Thank you for sticking to Bhagavatam class, Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya, just by regularly hearing it. All what is troublesome for the heart eventually goes away. So it's the right medicine for all of us. That's how we can do better, by attending Bhagavatam class. And I apologize if sometimes I cannot. I'm too busy cooking, away from a computer, but I try my very best. Okay, see you all tomorrow. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Hari Hari Bol. Jara Prasadena Prasadena Devavatu Yajanai Krishna Bhakti Swayam Krishna Prasad Shalom Yasade Sade 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 Promise.
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaura